Goodbye, Nefario. We'll probably never see you again. I don't remember. And so this Wolverine actually believes that the Imperial family would even consider apologizing for the war. Absolutely asinine, if you ask me.
I use the word asinine a lot.
There's a Wolverine.
I learned about it in King of the Hill when I was a kid. Because Hank Hill uses it a lot. And also, honestly, I want to see the Wolverine, so I'm a little bit sad.
I was about to say that's an answer of another one of the siblings is, but then I remember it could just not be a sibling.
Yeah.
It could be a child race. Even though we've never met a single child race ever, which is weird, right?
Yeah, I keep kind of forgetting about that, honestly.
Yeah, granted, there's not that many characters, but like the child race is just there to mostly explain what's wrong with Marco, who's not actually a child.
Like it's just there for like Marco to exist.
Aside from there, it's just like this is an element to be filled in later if we ever have sequels. There are sequels now. So I have no idea if the Wolverine is a sibling or a parent, or a sibling or a child.
Honestly, I don't feel like it's the hugest of deals. Granted, if somebody who thinks that the Imperial family would even consider apologizing for the war, I feel like it's probably a sibling and not a child.
This Wolverine
over here. Gosh, can you believe those people?
Sounds reasonable. What? No, Marco, it is not. We suffered the heaviest casualties.
But who started it?
But wasn't it started by the Empire? No, it was started by Chemian provocation. Haven't you learned the history? Well, yeah, but attacking a planet full of sapient children wasn't the best way to respond. Oh. Which sounds really bad without the context.
So it is the children. So they are children then? Because I'm assuming the Wolverine's representing the people he's talking about.
Maybe? That might be a leap, but I'm not sure. But it's that the wolves attacked a planet that were the children of the Chemians.
Yes, I think that means that the Wolverines are the children of the Chemians.
They might be.
Because the Wolverines basically implying that they should apologize for the war.
I guess the fact that they're even negotiating alongside the Chemians probably means that they're a child race of the Chemians.
Yeah, I'd rather have the Chemians adopt me.
Imagine having a culture.
Neferu,
imagine one of these cultures being alongside one of their child races and interacting and cooperating. What's that like, wolves?
What's that like, world?
We attacked the Chemian bases with weaponry, which happened to be on a planet full of children. They were never fired on directly. Saying the word children just sounds so bad in this context.
I just imagine they're literally attacking.
Yeah.
I'm imagining an actual planet full of children.
Yeah. It's like every single time you have to like self-correct your mental image of what we're talking about because you can't get past the obvious definition of children.
I didn't shoot any children directly.
It sounds like the most vicious thing Amicus has ever said, where he's just like, it was just some children in a drone strike. Like, whatever, man.
Hey, man, we were all children at some point, you know?
So says the Adastran history books. Why would you assume that? It's not a good argument to just whip out assumptions like that these are lies. My father never lied. Emperors famously always tell the truth.
Yeah, isn't your father a politician?
I'm basing it off what I learned from Chemian history as well. I'm not only learning about Adastra, you know. Amicus is quiet, but still looking huffy. So I lean over from my side of the couch to touch his shoulder. Listen, I'm not saying your father's a liar. I'm saying that sapients as a whole are. I know because humans do the exact same thing when we write our history.
Oh, do we?
You should have a bit more pride in your species. How will you lead the humans otherwise? I mean, that's just realism. It's just a basic understanding of how we are. Actually, I think pride is the biggest woven problem. Amicus just goes quiet. I think I hit a sore spot talking about his dad, and although I'm enjoying our usual somewhat intense banter, I don't have as much energy as usual. Sorry, I shouldn't talk about things I don't understand. Amicus looks at me with surprise. What? No. I do want you to talk about me with these things. I might seem upset, but I've already told you I enjoy debating. I wave away Amicus's rush to smooth things over. No, me too. I'm just feeling a little tired today. What I want to talk about is what's about to happen to me. About how I'm starting to lose my courage at the last minute. How I don't want to do anything except stay on this couch. But I can tell Amicus doesn't. He came in with the stories of the day right away, as if this isn't our last night together.
I know, I was just thinking that. I was like, what a fucking way to talk about politics and like your last night with your loved one. Like, not important, guys.
Because he's just trying not to talk about it.
I know, but you have to. Imagine how sad it would be to leave and just have like your last talk be like,
yeah,
about the upcoming presidential election. I don't know. It's just one of those things I'd be like, that sucks. I didn't get to say anything romantic.
Well, it had been easy to pretend with Nefero. It's much more difficult seeing Amicus put on such an act too. I assume make me feel better. Amicus, I don't know if I can. Amicus suddenly holds up a paw. Wait, Marco, I know, but please, let's have this night together. I promise you, the situation will become clearer for you. Just give it a little more time.
I don't have time.
That gives me pause. It's like Amicus knows something that I don't. And trust me, because we are traveling back to Earth together. We will have plenty of time to discuss whatever you wish. Amicus's eyes start to glisten just slightly as he holds back tears, then clears his throat. But for now, I think it's preposterous that they expect me to apologize. I watch Amicus for a long time, realizing that he might be right. He's in constant contact with the parents, and I've respected the fact that he can't tell me what they say unless given specific permission to do so.
Also because they're always watching and they'll know if you do it.
And they suck. And then the feeling is unnerving. There's also some comfort in the idea that maybe something will help me at the last minute, and Amicus seems to know that. On top of that, he knows how hard this is going to be. We both do. But he wants to save the tears for the end, and so do I. So, well, if it's just the Imperial family apologizing, that's actually asking for very little to create an alliance. It's one of many demands, and they simply want to humiliate us. All because Neferu managed to get his balls kicked in. I mean, the Pharaoh's son. You should honestly consider yourself lucky no one else saw you hit him. He's an easy one to hit. What does he expect, always leaving himself wide open? He deserved it, both times. Alright, well, I sigh.
That's not the point.
Be nice, Amicus. But I lean into him, and he finally pulls me into his lap, nuzzling my hair. We talk for a while longer, the two of us trying to stay awake as long as possible. I finally manage to relax a bit, and finally, my eyes grow heavy, and Amicus's warm breath puffs steadily against my head. I imagine this moment folding into a pocket of infinity, made to go on forever, our responsibilities gone, the coming trials never to arrive. But time does march on, because without realizing it, I start to fall asleep.
You are on the right path.
I grasp blindly at the sound of his voice. Help me. I don't know what to do. My feet slide quietly across the rug and marble, leaving Amicus behind on the sofa.
Apologies for the extended silence.
But why? I don't know what I'm doing.
But you do.
I walk deliberately in the direction I know to go. My only distraction being the furious twitching in my left eyelid.
You needed time to learn about yourself, to learn about the Galaxius, to steel your resolve, and now you are ready to forge ahead.
hexagons. But I'm not.
Then, would you like to glance through the eyes of the parents to see what lies ahead?
Yes. How do I even begin?
Instructions for the first steps in your assignment will be given upon your arrival back on Earth.
But...
what we want to show you is instead what is possible, what is guaranteed if you follow all of our instructions.
He senses my confusion.
He senses my doubt because I don't trust him. Instead of telling you, we can show you.
My left eyelid flutters. Everything starts to fade. Eight years pass by in a cosmic microsecond. You return to Adastra. Oh, I think this is you, actually.
Oh. 8 years pass by in a cosmic microsecond. You return to Adastra, a changed man. You find Amicus changed as well. What does not change are the feelings between you. The thread connecting you to your wolf never breaks, never wavers, a constant reminder of where you belong. And when you see him again, you will know this. You will spend the rest of your life with Amicus. A long life. You worry that what is ahead is too difficult. Instead, the worst is far, far behind you, and will only grow more distant with the slow passage of time. You marry Amicus. You travel the Galaxius with him, always by his side, never to be separated again as you continue your work. You see creatures and civilizations that no human before you could ever have dreamed of. You experience much. Some of it is difficult and painful, but most of it is beautiful. You carry these experiences with you for the rest of your life. You see Neferu again. Yay, good. Oh, well, okay, fine, I'll definitely do it then. I'll definitely do it.
This justifies everything.
Yeah, sign me up. You work with him, and he will become your closest ally. And then, you return to Adastra 40 years later, your work complete. But much more time is ahead of you. You make full use of it. You and your wolf change Adastra for the better. Power will shift from the Imperial family as Amicus reforms the fabric of Adastran politics. You and your wolf will have more time with each other, and within 100 years, the Imperial family will formally relinquish its hold on the moon. You spend most of your time with Amicus, and some of your time alone, but all of it is time well spent. He takes you to the lake. He takes you to the city. And 200 years after you first met Amicus, you both retire to a villa on the countryside. You grow old together. For the last 50 years of your life, you create even more experiences with him, somehow just as exciting as the ones in your youth. You defy all expectations and live nearly 300 years. And when the inevitable happens, you slip through to the next plane easily, ending this life in his arms, the smell of lavender the last sense you experience. And then, only a few decades later, your wolf joins you in the amalgamation. You will mingle there for eternity, reliving the best moments of your life with your wolf forever. Honestly, that all sounds really awesome.
A little too awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I like how you don't get to see any of it.
I mean, that'd be a lot of work.
Oh, I know. I know, but I mean, it also could be for the sake of.
So I'm used to reading in this game and not staring at the background while somebody else reads. And so I just looked at that tower in the background. I'm like, that looks like a penis.
That looks like a penis.
It gets taller it gets wider at the top.
Yeah, that does seem hard to explain. It's like that one, the VHS cover for that Little Mermaid.
Yes, exactly.
The one that got banned because somebody definitely just kind of drew a dick. Like, I looked at it and it was one of those ones where I was like, I don't think this is an accident.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of on purpose. But if I was making the cover to Little Mermaid, I might kind of think that was funny. And just kind of subtly draw a dick in there.
So you've had more time for your eyes to wander. Was this background, was the water always so polygonal looking?
No, I was thinking about that because I don't remember the city looking like maybe I could be completely wrong. But I feel like the city looks more sketchy, like more sketched like.
Yeah, I feel like this is like this feels like it's like a simulation background or something.
Yeah, it doesn't feel...
I don't remember the water being covered in so many straight lines.
Well, then look at, like, behind that banister where the little circle is. The lines that go straight up don't make any sense, even in terms of, like, where light would work. Like, the triangles in the middle make sense, kind of, because you can argue the water would make ripples or patterns that kind of might look like that if you were to draw it in, like, a really basic polygonal way. But I have a really hard time justifying, like, the lines on the left side. I don't know. I feel like this definitely looks like it could look very computer simulation-y.
Yeah, like maybe it's a thing.
With like the clouds that are kind of out of they're kind of hazy looking. They don't look right.
Like I immediately have issues
Low
with
res.
this entire story because I'm like, wow, it sure sounds like a story where you tell me exactly everything that I would need to hear so that I do what you want me to do.
Yeah, no, there was
we've literally already established that they use our compatibility as a tool to manipulate us, and then they promise us like the perfect future if we just be obedient for the next 8 years.
I mean, if honestly, like I was gonna say, like in this situation, I definitely don't trust God. I never trust God.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think in this situation,
also spoilers.
What?
No, I mean the experience of like, what you showed me all the good things that are going to happen already.
Oh, you mean like, yeah? Why do I even want to live that now?
God,
like, gosh, and plus,
what a waste of DMT or whatever. Is that the one?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a few, but yeah, I feel like okay. I mean, it was just enough to. It's very enticing. I really like the 300 years thing. I'm thinking about this myself where I'm like, oh man, that seems like the right amount of time to live. Like I could do more things, but it's not such a large amount of time that I'd want to fucking kill myself like a vampire does. Like 1,000 years is like miserable, you know? 300 years seems
we're
just
reaching
right.
the year count where we start to be like, starting to feel a little short actually, the future.
I like that in the last 50 years of your life, like I took a pause because I was like, must be nice to just be able to say like, oh, in the last 50 years of your life, I'm basically already at the last 50 years of my life right now. Like that's fucking, it makes me really depressed. You know what?
There's
Fuck
a good
you,
chance.
game. I hate this beautiful like fantasy you just put in my brain where my life only has 50 years left and I'm not married to some hot
Poor
furry.
Amicus still has to live for decades without us.
I mean, that part is sad, but if you know, in the grand scheme of his life, that isn't a huge percentage. It's less of a percentage to him than it would be for a normal human being. But no, I like how they threw in like, oh, some things are kind of bad. Some like they were like, oh, it's bad sometimes. Like, but they don't go into any detail as to how it is bad. But in reality, like I feel like life is almost pretty speckled, almost evenly with negatives and positives. It's just that the positives are worth the negatives. I don't think that there's a life that could possibly be as perfect as that. So I'm gonna call a bluff on that.
I come to slowly on the floor under the archives. I come too slowly. Come on slowly and don't let go. My vision is blurry and I reach up to wipe away tears. Even now I feel the incredible warmth and happiness that seemed to overflow from my chest as I lived that. What was that? My future? I'm not sure what to think right now, but for the first time in months I feel completely at peace. This is my future. I need this future. The sights and feelings were so vivid, so beautiful. I need that life with Amicus. Even though it feels as if the parents are stringing me along with the promise of a reward, I also felt the feelings of my future self. I truly believed in what I was doing, or I guess will believe. I had mixed and melded with so many different times that I'm a little confused as to what time I'm in now. It takes a moment to become used to seeing time like a human again instead of a parent. But when I adjust, my heart leaps in my chest at the thought of so much time ahead. The 8 years are nothing. I lie there for a while longer, catching my breath, then just staring at the starry sky through the opening in the ceiling. Silently, I thank the parents for finally showing me what the point of everything is. With a shaky sigh, I get to my feet, wanting to get back to Amicus's room, wanting to tell him everything, but knowing I can't. I wonder if they let him see it as well. I hope so. I take a deep breath, feeling the cool, fragrant night air against my wet face. I stand there a moment, just happy to be alive. I'm so lost in this euphoria that I barely notice footsteps up the hall. Then voices, laughing and talking. I just stand in the doorway recognizing those voices.
Oh, Cassius, stop. We need to be quiet.
Alex's voice is a hushed whisper, though I can tell he's trying not to laugh. Oh, unknot your tail, kitten. What will they do, arrest me? Something's odd about Cassius's voice.
He's drunk.
It's slurred and tired sounding. I don't even attempt to hide as the two of them stumble into view, Alex clinging to Cassius's neck as the wolf tries to keep his balance. Alex giggles while Cassius playfully nips around his face and neck.
Stop. You're going to make me laugh. Someone will hear.
Alex spots me and pulls away from Cassius, standing stiffly to the side. Cassius, not having seen me yet, tries grabbing at him, but gets his paws slapped. Ah, not so rough. My joints ache. He stares at Alex, even as the cat tries to nod in my direction to tip the wolf off. It takes a minute, but eventually the white wolf gets it. What's, He looks at me, takes a moment to process it, and then stiffens up as well. Oh, ape creature. I frown, wondering if he's forgotten my name already. But my focus is mainly on Alex. Hey, Alex.
Oh no.
I'm still feeling bizarrely high and confident from my time trip.
Hello.
This is good. I actually wanted to talk to you before I leave.
And by talk, I mean punch in the face. Oh. What about?
Well, first of all, what are you doing here? Cassius steps forward unsteadily, pointing at me, I think. His finger kind of drifts off to the side. What right do you have to question him, human? Alex quickly grabs one of Cassius's arms and tries to pull him back.
Cassius, please.
You're acting very uppity for someone who is still considered a pet, even if you did win my brother's favor.
One more than his favor, fool.
I lean against the doorway casually, smiling. Oh, I won more than that. But if you really want, I can call Amicus. He should have the proper authority.
No!
Alex freezes and every inch of his fur bristles out. I wait, not saying anything, but Alex also says nothing, just clinging to Cassius's arm as he stares at me, as if just moving will lead to me making good on my threat. Well, then maybe we can start with what it is you're doing here. Last I heard, you were banished from the palace. Cassius steps forward again, stumbling a bit as he drags Alex along. Enough intimidating my cat. We are here to claim my father's ship, which we will then pilot to Amorpha. Alex stares open-mouthed at Cassius, clearly shocked at how quickly his plans had just been revealed.
Cassius!
What? Am I saying something wrong? Well, consider it your fault, as you wouldn't stop pressing the wine bottle to my mouth. Alexios can only stare back at the wolf, mouth agape, before he snaps it close and turns to me.
My master is simply drunk, if that was not already obvious.
I am perfectly coherent despite my slightly inebriated state.
Coherency isn't the issue, Cass.
Alex hisses angrily at the wolf before turning back to me, smoothing his fur down.
My master brought me here simply because he wanted to. As his pet, I have no choice but to obey.
I see Alexios' paw grip more tightly onto Cassius' arm, warning him. Ow! What did I say about being sore? I sigh as I finally recognize that look on Alex's eyes. There's a missing word. So you're planning to steal the Emperor's ship, which is Amicus' ship now, by the way, just before I was due to leave?
Oh, you're leaving?
Alex isn't even trying at this point. Man, you're a real piece of shit, you know that?
And you're a reckless ape with no consideration for the rest of the galaxy.
I blink in surprise, though I'm a little satisfied to see that I've gotten through a shield of indifference. Cassius, who had opened his mouth to butt in again, suddenly pauses, raising an eyebrow at the two of us. Wait a moment. Do you two have some sort of history? You speak in a familiar way to each other. Cassius!
What the fuck, Cassius? You haven't paying any goddamn attention.
He's so cartoonishly out of the loop.
Where have you been?
You don't think the two pets have been interacting when they're the only people around all day, every day?
Yeah, when you're off like doing stuff and everyone's off doing stuff and there's only two people in the entire house like who have a similar position in this totem pole.
He's so blind to the exact relationship that's the reason he lost the trial.
Oh my gosh, what an idiot.
The entire reason he lost the second trial. And he still doesn't even know that relationship exists.
Yeah, you think he'd think about it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And kind of piece stuff together on his own. But no.
Your pet's a hoe. He knows everybody in this town.
Alex definitely kind of wears the pants in this relationship in terms of intellect. I think he kind of, what is it, the man is the head of the household, but the woman is the neck. She can turn the head any way she wants to. That's a quote, I think, from...
gender, everybody.
Yeah, I know. That's some quote from fucking My Big Fat Greek Wedding, I think.
Oh, jeez. That's old now.
Yeah, it is old now.
That's like classic rock, but movies.
I mean, there are classic movies, Keith.
No. Turner
Classic Movies, ever heard of it?
Turner Classic Movies. The only kind.
Black and white ones, huh? No, Cassius. Only in passing.
I remember then that Alex had tried to keep our interactions hidden from Cassius, though not the information I'd unwittingly given the cat during our many conversations. I ignored the wolf for the moment, unwilling to let this traitorous feline get the last word in. And you have no consideration for the lives of anyone on this moon. I turned to Cassius. And how do you explain still wanting to get with this cat when he's responsible for most of the terrible things that happened to us last year? To your family?
Don't talk to him, Cassius. Let's just leave.
No. You're not leaving. Otherwise, I'm calling for amicus.
Dude, Alex reminds me so much of... Well, I was gonna say catty, but I guess that makes perfect sense. No, very snarky girlfriends that I've met that were like, well, like, we're leaving because I'm jealous and I don't want you to talk to him and blah, blah, blah. Like, don't say that in public. Blah, 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 blah. Like, we'll talk about this when we get home.
I was just gonna say, like, can you tell this game's written by a dog person?
Well, as a dog person, I'm fine with this.
I look at Alex, who purses his lips tightly before turning my attention back to Cassius. That is none of your concern, but if you must know, then...
Cassius.
Consider how you would feel, left in a position in which the intents of your entire society rested upon your shoulders. He had little choice, while also underestimating Kato's brutality. Cassius's words are less slurred now, the topic of conversation seeming to have sobered him up a bit. He did have the choice to accept his assignment, as he put it, and I think he's smart enough to know his actions would destroy countless lives. You misunderstand. His choice was an illusion so as to assure the cats, especially the ones giving the command, that they are still grounded by their values. I fully understand this, and so did Amicus when I explained the situation. We have both been left in such positions before. I shake my head. How can you not blame him for the destruction and death of your people? Marco, he is only the stylus. I blame the hand of his government that wielded him like a disposable tool.
Oh, poor Alex.
Alex is tugging on the wolf's arm again, pulling him toward the main exit.
Cassius, let's just leave. There's more wine in our apartment.
I'm reminded of how much Alex hated it when Neferu showed up in the same room as us in certain scenes. Alex very specifically does not want any of the people he interacts with to meet each other while he's there, because then they'll interact with the version of him that he is for them. And then not only does he have like a difference of personalities thing where like the way he acts with each person will be noticeably different and they'll be crossed wires, but also the secrets and the things can, like, every second that these conversations continue, the third party can introduce something that he does not want them to say.
There's more opportunities for unraveling.
Because he's so specifically manipulating everybody. Up there with the fact that, like, before we step in, it's like he tries to sleep with Neferu while he's caught. Like, that's the kind of shit he's up to. And you're like, that's like, and like, based on what you know about Alex up to that point, that is a surprise. Just like how him being the way he is with Cassius during the first trial is a huge surprise. You're like, this is not how I thought this character went.
Well, especially because he was all like, supposedly modest. Like, we went to the beach together. It was all like, oh, like, I don't know.
Yeah, and the whole mischievous ribbing thing he has with Amicus, where he's the bully target and so on and everything. Like, he has a completely different dynamic with every character, but we can only witness ours mostly. And so he really doesn't want to mix characters.
It's like how I feel at work when somebody who I'm friends with outside of work shows up. I like have to get an aneurysm because I'm like, how do I conflate these two versions of myself? I can't.
Yeah.
Like, I hate when people visit me at work. I'm like, just don't.
Yeah. Or the idea of mixing your gay friends and family get-togethers.
I mean, I'd mix all my gay friends with my family get-togethers. I don't care about that. Stir it right in. Like,
just stir it right in. Make it a swirl. I sigh, realizing that I probably won't ever have my questions about Alex answered. That he'll probably never get what he deserves. It still bothers me that he got off so easily. That Cassius shields him from any sort of comeuppance. Why do you trust him, Cassius? He's a traitor, but here you are, leaving your empire vulnerable by letting him get close to you, the brother of the Emperor. Cassius pouts, putting an arm around Alexios. Because we understand each other, Marco. As you and Amicus somehow understand each other. I've grown tired of the games of politics. I simply want peace with an understanding partner.
Oh.
By running away to Amorpha? Last I heard, they despise your kind. Actually, we're similar in many ways, one being our shared culture. I try not to roll my eyes at the word shared.
Wasn't Cassius all opposed to integrating with the sibling cultures because he just wanted us to focus on our own?
Yeah, it's hard to say. One, there's some fucked up stuff going on here with the analog for Rome talking about the analog for Greece as having a shared culture, like it was given willingly. But he's a colonizer, isn't he? But
yeah, we're sharing as you take something from someone. This is sharing.
But there is
we share land with the Native Americans.
There's an ambiguity with Cassius, with whether or not there's an ambiguity with the idea of whether or not he specifically believes half the stuff that he said, or if they were political strategies.
And also Kata's involvement with everything he said,
or even if he agreed with what he was saying, how deep-seated those beliefs were, or versus how much they were like something that was kind of put in his head. He seems to genuinely care. Or if he thought that they were
going to be effective, which is
like he seems to genuinely care about the wolves that are doing worse, that are worse off and are undercared for and need healthcare and so on, and has like a specific connection to his own disability, and like that connection with like how much worse off people like him are that don't have, that aren't the Emperor's son and can have the maximum amount of care about that. And so like it seems sincere that he goes off to do that for like the last 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so that seems to be what he actually cared about significantly more than some of the other stuff. And he probably thought his brother's an idiot, so he probably thought that he genuinely could run this place better. But the entire path that he went down, his political radicalization went into like a terrifying direction where he starts talking about actively fucking over many entire species across several planets and so on, which is a common avenue, but not a great path to go down.
I feel like I've heard arguments in the same vein of like, oh, why should we send aid to countries that are suffering if we have our own issues in our own backyard? I've heard like this kind of argument like before in terms of like foreign relations. But I think there's a difference between that, which is kind of like, I feel like can be understandable, like, you know, get your shit together, you know, make sure you're taking care to take care of your own people also. Don't ignore that. Versus being like, I don't like the mixing of any culture. I'm just gonna like build the wall around my culture and no one else is allowed in, and we're not gonna exchange any kind of ideas, which is like kind of what his whole political rallying kind of went into. It came off as very like, you know, we don't need anybody else. We're great on our own, yada, yada, yada.
Isolationism's just usually just a
it's a bad idea.
It's like it's like even specific, like I think about, like, even though it's not the best example because it's fiction, but I think about like Andrew Ryan's Rapture, like specifically was supposed to be this bubble isolated from all of society, and yet they had an obvious weak point because they never really actually managed to be self-sufficient. One of the regions you go through is specifically the small handful of people that are cleared to leave and go out, and they collect fish and they trade with the outside world and so on. And that's actually the entirety of how Frank Fontaine's business works. Is the smuggling operation is hooked into that entire thing. Like they're specifically, despite the premise of Rapture, it couldn't function as a bubble. It always needed some sort of outside trade. And so like the idea of like the wolves just cutting off from, like, not only rejecting these deals with the Chemians or any of the other races, and like all the other siblings have all like cut them off at this point. So like they are on their own, and so like if they don't like uplift their children correctly, and they don't like actually incorporate them into society and have like these trades of technology and resources and so on, then like they're just gonna starve themselves. It's just it's a self-defeating ideology. It's just a bad plan, even though in the short term it sounds like an obvious thing to commit to.
I've mentioned this before, but like you can very much argue effectively that selfish altruism is like the best route for humanity altogether, where it's like and in this case it would be you know, them and their children's species. But I mean, there is like an argument that uplifting everybody to the same level is the most beneficial route for society as a whole, because they can contribute to your society. Like them doing well is the world doing well. In the grand scheme of things, like we don't necessarily need people to suffer for the rest of the world to do well. It's just that it would maybe just benefit like the richest of all people. But that's really about it. But I think in their case, like learning from other cultures is definitely, there's always things that other people know that you do not, and gaining perspective is only a positive thing.
Yeah. I don't think the wolves are going to invent the stretch drive on their own.
Yeah, and then, you know, resources. I mean, I'm sure that these other planets have things that these other planets do not. You know, I just think that there's to cut yourself off is to really limit yourself.
He's got a little moon charm.
Little moon charm. Oh my gosh, he does!
He just has a little moon charm in there. It's a rare sight because he's usually wearing clothes.
It's actually really cute. He's got a charm on his underwear. Oh.
And the other being the fact that cats now oppose the parents. I believe this can result in plenty of common ground.
Come on!
Alex yanks the wolf, making Cassius yelp before stumbling after the cat. Oh, son of a whore, Alex, you're lucky I'm drunk. Otherwise, you could have seriously injured me. I watched the two of them disappear through the exit, part of me wanting to call security and have the cat arrested for trying to hijack Amicus's ship. At the same time, though, I wonder if this will do us any good, considering what the cat has already gotten away with. Still, I feel like Cassius seemingly wanted to abandon the Empire. While drunk or not, is something Amicus should know about. I decided that I want to tell Amicus, and when we're both on our but when we're both on our way back to Earth, and he has time to think over what he wants to do about this. As for Alex as a whole, I suppose his motivation and Cassius's willingness to defend him makes a little more sense, but I still don't like any of it. Yet I don't love the idea of an enemy empire or government or whatever that specifically tried to sabotage us, having the Emperor's brother
Yeah.
I don't love that plan, and feel like Alex might also not have the best motivation for causing this. That seems incredibly fucking suspect.
That seems immensely convenient for a certain group of individuals.
I feel like somebody should stop this.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, but you don't want to tear the lovers apart. I still do question how much Alex.
Yeah.
Like, I like to think Alex likes Cassius, but at the same time, like, would Alex just up and leave Cassius if there was no benefit to being with him?
It's hard to, I don't know.
I don't know. It's sad. It's sad that that's so.
Like, I think about like. I want Alex often makes it seem like they genuinely care about each other. His reaction to the poisoning was very distraught in a way that seemed raw, and he wasn't probably performing for Cassius at that point, who probably wasn't very aware of the world anymore.
But I mean, even if you only liked someone a little,
yeah,
if you watch someone get poisoned in front of you, even if you just, like I said, only liked them like tiny bit, it would probably still be very upsetting to something you try to help them with. Yeah. You know?
The perp drew a really, like, intense scene of Alex, like, sobbing into Cassius's belly when he's at his hospital bed, and, like, he just looks like a wreck and everything, and just having this sobbing apology. And I have to remember that that's not canon and didn't happen in the game, and it's a fan creation. Because, yeah, the best you have to go on is that he was visiting Cassius in the hospital, but that could have been him working this angle if this is a nefarious plan of some sort.
I mean, like I said, or like you brought up, like he tried to sleep with Neferu just to get his way.
Yeah.
So I mean, if Amicus had like a third brother who maybe was a little bit more convenient to be with,
would he just take off?
Yeah, would he just pick up? I'm gonna switch over to this one. Like,
I'm also getting really forthright with all the theories and stuff now, because we're in the territory where I don't know the answers because we're running out of game. So this stuff keeps coming up where I can shout about something because I don't know. So I'm not spoiling anything.
It can be fun not to know.
Yeah, I look forward to not knowing what happens in Echo.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
We can just yell about things the whole time.
I love yelling about things.
Yes. We all have a choice, whether you want to pretend it's an illusion or not. I'm in the process of making my own right now. And we're coming up on, because when we finish, we're going to go back and we're going to see where the other choices could have taken us. And we'll see how much of a choice he really had.
Oh no.